I recently read this book, Losing My Religion, by journalist William Lobdell, and as a subtitle, How I Lost My Faith Reporting on Religion in America and Found Unexpected Peace. At the beginning of the book, Mr. Lobdell quotes René Descartes. If you would be a real seeker after truth, it is necessary that at least once in your life you doubt as far as possible all things. And so this foray for me in reading this book is kind of my not doubt but investigation of another man who, like myself, was a man of faith, and to look at his story, where he came from to where he went losing his faith, and to evaluate where I am. Why am I keeping a faith now while he lost his faith? One thing that really was interesting to me is that the book, he sort of spoke to me at a personal level that I understood quite well, and I think that we have similar backgrounds. We are of a similar age. We both grew up in California. We both have similar levels of education, so I understood a lot of what he was saying. He found himself at age 27 in quite of a mess in life. He had gotten a girlfriend pregnant. While having this girlfriend, he cheated on his pregnant girlfriend, whom he eventually married as a quick marriage in a Las Vegas chapel. And so he was really feeling kind of lost. And he turned to one of his journalist friends, Walter, who gave him some advice. He said, "William, you need God in your life." And so he was really at wit's end at that point. He was willing to probably accept just about anything as a suggestion as for how to improve his life. So he started attending church, which led to him attending another church and being invited to a retreat in the mountains, during which he had an experience that he felt and was born again. And with this born again experience, he proceeded from there. He prayed, being in somewhat of financial straits at the time, that he would receive $50,000, and shortly thereafter he was paid $45,000. And so he saw this also as a sign, and he became avidly involved in the pursuit of faith. And as part of that involvement, he, as a reporter for the Los Angeles Times, volunteered to take the religion beat for Los Angeles Times, where he would go visit churches and study religion in the Southern California and beyond area. And so he did this and discovered a lot of things. He did investigative reporting into the televangelists, and most of whom he thought were kind of charlatans that were doing healing, public healing, so-called, to get money. One of which that he interviewed was televangelist Benny Hinn. One televangelist or pastor that he spoke really pretty fondly of was the pastor Rick Warren of the Saddleback Baptist Church. And he thought Mr. Warren was not nearly as ostentatious and high living, and didn't have the trappings of the jet planes and the extra houses nearly the way these other televangelists did, and he was really quite humble, Mr. Warren, that is. He did some investigative reporting into the LDS, or Mormon Church. Now, in the Southern California area, there are only probably a little over 2% of the population Latter-day Saint, but that 2% of 15-20 million people adds up to hundreds of thousands of Latter-day Saints in the Southern California area. So that active church, the LDS Church, was going to be a newsworthy item in the religion section of the paper. And the reporting that he did on the LDS faith was kind of mixed. One thing he did point out is that he quoted a Los Angeles Times study that only 6% of the marriages that are solemnized in the LDS temples end up in divorce. He did question some critics of the church from other Christian denominations. The criticism being that, well, the Mormon story is so fantastic that it obviously is so far-fetched, why would anybody believe it? But he correctly, in my view, pointed out that if you believe what the Bible says is what the Mormons teach in their Book of Mormon and other teachings any more fantastic and unbelievable than what's already taught in the Bible. So he makes a good point there. He didn't really pull his punches when talking about the LDS Church. He went to investigate, went to plan to go to General Conference in Salt Lake City, and instead of seeing the 30,000 with the 30,000 that intended to attend that conference, he met with a group of disgruntled former members, about 30 or so, and their disgruntlement mainly had to do with being shunned by family members and the communities and the close LDS communities that they lived in mostly Utah and Idaho. And I think that was maybe a little bit unfair in that there are going to be disgruntled individuals, and this disgruntlement was not so much as the responsibility of the church. Now, the family members, you could say, weren't truly following what Jesus would want and shunning people, but I don't think it was really fair to blame the church for that. He also questioned the location that was revealed by Joseph Smith of Adam-on-Diamond, a place in western Missouri where Joseph Smith said that the Garden of Eden was originally. And I thought this interesting because I have questioned the same thing myself. Most of the doctrines and teachings in Mormonism are somehow attached to the Bible or something like that. But this one of the Garden of Eden having been in western Missouri is kind of something out of nowhere. So I thought of that. How are they going to get to the old world from the new world? I guess Noah's Ark or something like that. Another thing that he did is the story about the DNA evidence of the ancestry of the American Indians not being from the Middle Eastern area, but from the Eastern Asia area. And so he reported on that finding, and that the debates and investigations as to that DNA evidence, they are still ongoing. But I thought that was fair. What happened in losing his religion, he after a time decided to support his wife and be in harmony with his wife, Greer, in converting to become a Catholic. Well, it so happens at the same time he was taking lessons in Catholicism in preparation to join the Catholic Church, so he and his wife could have their marriage done and recognized as a legitimate marriage by the Catholic Church. He did an investigative report on the priest pedophile scandal of the Catholic Church, where priests were abusing and having sexual relations with boys. And really the scandal wasn't so much about the pedophile priests themselves, but the reaction of the Catholic Church to those priests. What the Catholic Church did was vigorously attack the accusers, move these priests to other place where they could purportedly continue their practice of abuse. And so having to face this and deal with the complicity or duplicity of the Catholic Church while at the same time preparing to join the Catholic Church, I can't see any way that wouldn't really stress someone's faith quite a bit. And eventually he came to the point where he decided a couple weeks before he was to have that culminating ceremony of becoming a Catholic, he just couldn't go through with it. And eventually he looked at his research and he decided that, no, I just cannot do this. And he looked back on his faith, and he made a couple comments that I think that were really relevant. He says, if the Lord is real, it would make sense for the people of God on average to be superior morally and ethically to the rest of society. Statistically, they aren't. He says, I also believe that God's institutions on average should function on a higher moral plane than government or corporations. I don't see any evidence of this. And I think that he was perhaps a little bit harsh there, because I think that there are quite a few churches that, the LDS Church among them, that really are quite honest in their dealings with people, and do really have a high degree of ethics. As far as the people of God having benefit, well, the LDS Church, for instance, has a very much greater life expectancy than normal, so that's evidence of something good. The marriages lasting longer, not ending in divorce, the code of conduct really helping out to protect the youth and even adults of the church. So there are a lot of, and this is not the only LDS church, the Seventh-day Adventist Church, the Loma Linda community, that is really renowned for their citizens living 10 years longer than the average lifespan. So there are some things that he really overlooked. He came to the point where he eventually rationalized away. He just said that, well, this experience I had at this retreat where I was born again, that was just some feeling in my heart that I was just emotionally caught up, he says. As far as receiving this $45,000, well, he says the guy decided to pay me the $45,000, and that was just a coincidence. But what happens is that I, likewise in my life, have had signs of confirmation of my belief. And I don't believe these signs are really, most of them, for anyone else besides me, and I guess so it's up to me to rationalize them away or not, but thus far I've decided not to. And I think that another thing about Mr. Lobdell, even though he has gone away from the faith, he says he is now at peace, and surprisingly so, he says. But one thing that I don't think he takes into account very much is that this foray, this long period he had involved as a Christian, I really think did give him his life some stability and reinforce some positive values that still benefit him to this day. So again, I found it a very interesting book. You can't read a book like that and just easily dismiss it. Members of the church might question that I would read such a book, but I really, at the library, felt prompted to pick that up, and I feel that if I cannot, or if I don't take some time to, on occasion, reevaluate where I am and read some things that maybe the church leaders wouldn't support me reading, if I'm not willing to do that and be honest enough to be willing to do that at least some, I don't think I can very well ask someone else not of my faith to investigate my faith as well. So I thought this very interesting. I don't know longer term what this is going to do for my faith, but I found it very interesting in the meantime. Thanks.